Stay frosty and head over to ezmutt.com for the cheapest mutt coins on the market. When I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around $40. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the Director. Chargers fans. All right. I've been thinking about this topic for a little while now, okay? I wanted to give it a little more time to marinate, to kind of understand what the situation is looking like. But after Sunday's performance, man, after what we've seen in the first 3 weeks of the season, I think it's time we talk about the elephant in the room, okay? Mike Williams. He has been having a remarkable start to the season, showing signs of improvement that honestly a lot of us were hoping to see, you know, in his potential being drafted in the first round in 2017. There is so much happening with this individual player, his impact in our offense, that I think it's time we start talking about what he means to this team, the future of this team, and why he is starting to progress in this season. Is Mike Williams slowly emerging as the Chargers wide receiver one? And what does this mean for the Chargers wide receiver position next season in 2022, this season in trying to make a playoff push? We're going to go over all of that in today's video, man. Mike Williams, he has been an absolute pleasure to spectate this season, making huge plays, extending drives, and of course, putting up points. The man has, what, like 4 touchdowns on the season through 3 weeks? That is absolutely fantastic, and I think Mike Williams might pan out to be one of the best wide receivers in 2022, and that spells a lot of good things for the Chargers in the future and in the years to come. Now, before we do get into this one, guys, I do have an announcement, okay? A lot of people have been asking me, Director, are you going to be coming out to a game at SoFi Stadium some point in 2022? And I've been telling you guys the same thing. I'm not quite sure, you know, if I'm going, and if so, what date I'm going. Me and my wife actually discussed this in length yesterday, and I think we have finally been able to make arrangements to go attend a game, to meet you guys, and have a really good time at SoFi Stadium. My first time being at SoFi Stadium. Matter of fact, my first Chargers game ever. I'm not going to get into the weeds of it and think of the weeds of it, but like, you know, didn't really have the means to go see games growing up, and finally, because of you guys, I do, and I'm super grateful for that. So without further ado, I will be attending the Sunday night football game, the Chargers versus the Steelers, and it should be a really good time. I'm super excited to meet you guys, and I'm super excited to experience the Chargers at the brand new stadium and really feel, you know, the full experience of being a Chargers fan. And to you guys, I'm grateful for that. So super exciting times, man. Before we do get into the topic of Mike Williams and his ascension in the Chargers offense, if you guys would hit us up with a like and sub, the small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps me out, helps the channel out so much. Thank you guys in advance for that. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. The ascension of Mike Williams in his breakout season in 2021. Has he emerged as the Chargers' brand new wide receiver one? So Mike Williams, the story of Mike Williams. I mean, long story short, Mike Williams drafted 7th overall in 2017 draft. I think a lot of people are very excited about Mike Williams having a great collegiate career with Deshaun Watson at Clemson. Those guys really popped off, and the Chargers adding this weapon, I think, gave us, you know, kind of the feeling of maybe having a Vincent Jackson or Malcolm Floyd on the team. And honestly, what's kind of funny, if you kind of look back on that draft as well, I don't know if the Chargers were fully committed to maybe the position of wide receiver prior to talking to Phillip Rivers. I think at that point, the Chargers were starting to look at the future at quarterback. Of course, we know Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson taken in that draft. Who knows what the future would have looked like, but I'm super happy with the future we have now in Justin Herbert and Mike Williams. Still, Rivers wasn't ready to pass the torch. So instead, they decided to draft another weapon for Phillip Rivers. Let him try to compete for a title, you know, while he still has some momentum. And I think it got close a couple of times, right? 2018, what a great season that was. Williams, individually as a player, I would say had some up and down seasons. You know, over 10 touchdowns one year, over 1,000 yards in another season. But there really was one thing holding him back. I think Chargers fans know this, injury. It really is a shame. I feel like Mike Williams had so much to offer and want to give the team, but he just really couldn't stay on the field. Now, I don't know what has happened since then. Okay, Mike Williams has been steadily looking better and better, but really hasn't lived up to that first-round pick potential. I don't know what they're doing as far, and mainly because of injury. I do not know what they're doing as far as training, as far as coaching, and the precautions in injury prevention. But so far, it's working. Knock on wood, Mike Williams can stay healthy and continue this breakout that we're seeing in 2021. So what were the missing ingredients here? I would say maybe a little bit of luck on the injury side, but also I feel like Mike Williams was simply missing the right scheme fit. There's a lot of things that have changed in the past couple of seasons for the Chargers, but I would say one of the biggest ones that we've had in the past couple of years is definitely this brand new head coach in Brandon Staley, and more specifically his offensive coordinator in Joe Lombardi. These guys really understand how to properly utilize their wide receivers, and I would say players in general, putting them in positions to succeed. And Mike Williams, I would say, is probably one of the biggest recipients of that this season. We've seen improvements across the board, offense, defense, maybe a little struggles here in special teams and run defense and stuff like that. But for the most part, we've seen some players really shine in this system. And right now, I'm going to say it. I think Mike Williams is leading the pack. And I do really think it starts with Brandon Staley and the people and the personnel that he's brought in. Now, if you guys don't know Joe Lombardi, you should if you watch this channel. He spent a lot of time in New Orleans with the Saints, and he's bringing in a lot of stuff, or he has brought in a lot of stuff from the Saints offense, which is very balanced, and I think it's honestly already starting to pay dividends for the Chargers 2021 season. But one big thing that we already knew before the season even started was Mike Williams' role. Guys, take a look at this article right here. Chargers offense coordinator Joe Lombardi predicts big year for Mike Williams, and this was back in June of 2021. And in the article, he explains that he wants to play him at X receiver, a lot like Michael Thomas did in New Orleans. Now, you guys know Michael Thomas. Some people will say he's the slant king. Mike Williams does a lot more than run slants, but still Michael Thomas, very, very good wide receiver. And what Joe Lombardi, I shouldn't say Joe Lombardi because he was more of a quarterbacks guy out there, but what the New Orleans Saints did with Michael Thomas was put him in a position to really be the featured guy at wide receiver, your X receiver. X receiver usually refers to the number one wide receiver on a team. And we already knew that Mike Williams was going to be put in that position even before the season started. You pair that up with a quarterback like Justin Herbert, who also has been having a breakout, with the Chargers, an ascension to the elite quarterbacks in the league. You got yourself a recipe for a breakout wide receiver, a breakout year for Mike Williams in 2021. Let's throw out some statage here, man. Let's throw out some average statage here. 10.3 targets per game. 98 yards per game, over a touchdown per game. I've already shown you guys the stat in a couple of videos before, but let's look at it again, man. Mike Williams, what is he projected as right now as far as his statage? 1,600 yards, 21 touchdowns. Now, as I've said before, it's very unlikely that these numbers will carry to the end of the season. But I don't know if they're too far off. I would honestly say Mike Williams at this pace definitely breaks 1,000 yards and definitely breaks double-digit touchdowns, probably by a lot. Probably by a very big margin. And like Joe Lombardi stated in the preseason, his role very much so mirrors the Michael Thomas of the New Orleans Saints. His production mirrors what we've been seeing in Michael Thomas. Take a look at Michael Thomas's production through the years. 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns. 1,400 yards, 9 touchdowns. I honestly think Mike Williams could end up surpassing these numbers by the end of the year. As a matter of fact, I'm going to plant my flag. If Mike Williams can stay healthy throughout the majority of 2021, I do think he's going to have a better season this year than a Michael Thomas on average. And Michael Thomas has put up some monster seasons. 1,700 yards in 2019. Yeah, he was viewed as one of the best wide receivers in the league. I think Mike Williams is about to see that same sort of attention in the National Football League. But a lot of people have been asking me, what does this mean for the future of the team? What is the team trying to accomplish in 2021 as far as a playoff push? How is this formula that's already being proven to work going to affect the future of this team? A big topic of conversation on this channel and among Chargers fans over the last offseason and maybe even next offseason has been the wide receiver position, more specifically concerning a Davante Adams. Should the Chargers continue to bolster this wide receiver core by bringing in Davante Adams, who's heavily been linked to the Chargers throughout the past couple of seasons, wanting to play with Keenan Allen? And honestly, I think the Chargers are starting to become a more lucrative option for a free agent wide receiver at this point. Could this happen? Could Davante Adams come to the Chargers? Should he come to the Chargers? Maybe. This might happen. It could happen. There are connections there. Me personally, though, after seeing what Mike Williams has been doing the past couple of weeks, if he can continue to do that, I'm leaning maybe no. I actually do not think we would need a Davante Adams, specifically because the way Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and the other receivers are utilized in this offense. Mike Williams, your big possession wide receiver, big play kind of guy, complemented by a Keenan Allen who can move the chains, produce a lot of yards, a lot of catches. This offense has the opportunity to continue moving down the field and score when it really matters with a guy like Mike Williams, and so far it is working. And Keenan Allen under contract for the next few seasons. There's no reason to go look for another guy that would kind of play a similar role like a Davante Adams. In the past, there was a lot of, maybe concern that Mike Williams doesn't stay with the team. There was a lot of chatter about, his fifth-year option being paid a little bit too much, yada, yada, yada. And that did open the door for a conversation like Davante Adams to come in. I think over the course of this season, that sort of conversation is going to quiet down a little bit. We're not going to hear so much about it because Mike Williams is going to be such a big name by the end of the year. I think Mike Williams at this point is being shaped to become the Chargers' wide receiver one of the future. And some people might say, well, how much time does he have left? He's only 26 years old. I think he still has a solid 5+ years to dominate after a late breakout, because this is a late breakout. Most wide receivers will break out in the first 2 or 3 seasons. And it's taken Mike Williams up to literally his 5th-year option to get to that point. But the way things shifted and the way things changed all kind of created a perfect environment for him to thrive. And I think that's where the Chargers wide receiver core and the future of this team is headed. Mike Williams at 1, Keenan Allen. I don't even know if you can even put those sorts of labels on a Brandon Staley team. No more outside linebacker, no more defensive end. You're talking about edge, you're talking about defensive tackle, you're talking about defensive line. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams could end up being the most dominant wide receiver duo in the league very, very soon. Whether he's number 1, whether he's number 2 on the depth chart, it doesn't really matter. All that really matters is the impact they have on the team and their ability to go out there and win games. So to kind of answer the question, is Mike Williams the Chargers wide receiver 1? I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that they're using him at X receiver. Yes, in the sense that he is the featured wide receiver on this team as of right now. But at the same time, you cannot write off Keenan Allen and the impact that he has on this team too. This duo is going to produce, and they're going to continue to grow. And honestly, this is just Justin Herbert's 2nd season. Their impact is going to continue to evolve, and I'm very excited to witness that. So a big question that Chargers fans often ask me too, especially through the course of last offseason, is how much should we pay Mike Williams? I would say at the beginning of last season, if we were to extend him, this number right here would probably be pretty accurate. And if you're wondering, this is Spot Rex, projected, annual salary, and I do not think it's going to be this low. I think if Mike Williams continues to produce at this level, we're probably looking closer to $15 million a year, closer to what he's making now on his 5th-year option. Is it worth it? Absolutely. That would put the Chargers at paying 2 wide receivers a pretty hefty salary, but what you're looking at and what you're asking from Mike Williams, I think it's going to be worth the price. Now, some people are probably worried that we're going to be paying him around the same salary as a Keenan Allen, $20 million annually. I would actually temper that a little bit. Again, I'm feeling closer to $15 million annually. And I'm not quite sure the length on the contract because he still does carry some injury concern. He does carry some things, prior to his breakout season that do need to come to account in his contract. But I do think they're going to reach some sort of agreement. He stays with the team and the Chargers continue to build on what they're establishing here in 2021. So the long story short, I think, yes, he will be worth the money. It's not going to be $10 million. It's going to be closer to $15 million. Will it be worth it? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm still going to get people asking me about Davante Adams after this video, so I'm going to put this to rest, okay? Could the Chargers add Davante Adams anyway? Sure, they absolutely could. Adams, Williams, and Keenan would be one of the stupidest overpowered wide receiver cores we've ever seen in NFL history. Make no mistake about that. But you really have to allocate monies to the appropriate positions in order to make a Super Bowl run, and putting that much money to the wide receiver position, probably not the best idea at this point. What they will likely do is let Josh Palmer ascend to the wide receiver 3 role, with Keenan and Mike Williams dominating at 1 and 2. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And I think Josh Palmer, with what we've seen so far in his rookie season and preseason, he's going to take that role and run away with it. And the Chargers wide receiver core is going to be absolutely stupid good. And what do we say on this channel all the time? If you're going to win a Super Bowl, you can't just be good. You have to be stupid good. And at this point, I think the wide receiver position is something that I'm not too concerned about right now. Again, in 2022, we're likely going to see the wide receivers as Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Josh Palmer, and that looks absolutely fantastic. If they do decide to sign anybody at the position of wide receiver, they will likely take the form of like a speedster to utilize the deep pass. Okay, we're talking guys maybe like Will Fuller or Brashad Perryman, just to help utilize Justin Herbert's big arm. Okay, and those will probably be guys that rotate depending on, game script and stuff like that. That's kind of what I'm thinking. But more than likely, because the Chargers have a lot of money to spend, and I don't know if they need to spend it on wide receiver. If they want a guy to kind of play that role, they're more than likely going to look to the draft, maybe spend like a mid to late round pick on a speedster to kind of, groom in that way. That's kind of the way the Chargers like to operate. But remember, guys, the Chargers do have a stupid amount of money to work with in 2022, north of $70 million. I think they were in the top 5 as far as salary cap for next season, which is pretty impressive. And what teams normally like to do in situations like what the Chargers are finding themselves in, they will likely address other positions of need like right tackle, corner, tight end, edge, and defensive tackle. So some examples: Mitchell Schwartz at right tackle, J.C. Jackson at cornerback, David Njoku at tight end, Chandler Jones, like we're seeing here on the screen, at edge. These are the kind of players that the Chargers can absolutely afford. And again, in situations like the Chargers are in right now, they have a really nice looking team, a lot of money to spend. They'll likely bolster other positions to make a run. A wide receiver core led by Mike Williams and Keenan Allen should be more than efficient to make a Super Bowl push, so they'll likely allocate that money to other positions of need. And honestly, this is going to create a very complete picture for the Chargers and a very complete roster of players that can take the next step and really become a threat in the NFL. So to close things out here, man, the Chargers, Mike Williams, he's been having an absolutely breathtaking start to the season, and I do not expect him to slow down. By the end of the season, I'm actually excited to go back and look at this video, after week 18. By the end of the season, we might be coming back and saying, oh my God, we had no idea. Most of the league, NFL fans might be coming back and saying, we had no idea the kind of player that Mike Williams could be. And he may actually pan out to be one of the best wide receivers in the league by the end of the year. And like I said, I've planted my flag and I'm going to stick to it. Mike Williams is the real deal. The Chargers' brand new wide receiver 1, technically, yes. And a guy that can certainly carry this Chargers team to a deep playoff push. And I honestly think, again, paired with Justin Herbert and Brandon Staley and all these guys, he is going to shine this year, earn that contract, get extended by the Chargers, and definitely stay on this team to make an impact for the future and give the Chargers fans something awesome to watch on Sundays. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you did enjoy this content, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.